Have you ever encountered a hurdle with launching or growing your business? Listen, there are two things that run a business, the back end and your soft skills.
Telling you right now, if these aren't in place, you'll lose clients and you'll lose money. You don't want that? Well, you're in the right place.
Hey, I'm Dana.
Hey, I'm Sarah.
We're your hosts of the Entrepreneur Encounter, and we're going to give you a behind-the-scenes glance into our businesses, give you genuine feedback, tips and tricks, plus occasionally bring on guests that care about supporting you to grow your business organically and nurturing authentic relationships. Are you ready?
Hey, entrepreneurs. Welcome back to another episode of the Entrepreneur Encounter. Today, we are speaking with Kelly Irene. She is an HR director and speaker and the founder of Most True You. Kelly, we're excited to have you on today. I'm really excited to talk about all the great things that you do. Can you explain and introduce yourself to the audience? Tell us all the awesome things.
Thanks, Sarah. I'm so excited to be here to talk with you. So as you said, I'm an HR director. I'm the founder of Most True You. I'm also the host of Cosmic Confidence TV. And I am on a mission to bust the taboo on astrology in the workplace. So whether that's for entrepreneurs or for those who are still, like me, balancing being in the corporate world with starting their own company, astrology has had a huge impact on my own life. And so I have been bringing that into other people's lives for professional development, career development, team building, all the things business.
That is awesome. I love the fact that you're bringing this to the corporate world. So there are times where I'll read my horoscope just to kind of see what it says, right? And sometimes it feels like it aligns and I read it and I'm like, no, that makes no sense. So I don't take it to heart, but I'm very curious on how that aligns with your work. Like, how does that help people actually step into their zone of genius, so to speak? I would love to know more about how you bring that into the work that you do.
Yeah, I also used to look at horoscopes and think, this is not me, probably half the time that I read them. A lot of that is because it's based on our sun sign. So where the sun was when we were born. The sun only changes signs every 29-ish days. So that's encompassing a lot of people into one very broad and general category. It can be helpful because our sun sign tells us how we're meant to shine in the world, how we present to other people, kind of what the first impression is that people have of us. My sun sign is Aquarius. What's your, when you're looking at your horoscope, what sign are you looking at?
I'm Capricorn.
Capricorn. Okay. So Capricorn, that's where my moon sign is. And I'll tell you what that is in a minute because that'll get into answering your actual question. But Capricorn, I always think of it as the peak of their Matterhorn. It's the place where only mountain goats go and a few humans, but they have to be really, really intentional to get there because they've done a lot of training. They have a really defined structure to their life. They like to achieve big goals. So for you having your sun sign there, that's kind of how you show up, is as somebody who is structured, who set and achieve goals, who can be very, very, very determined and hardworking.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. But that's only part of who you are, right? That's how you show up. But that doesn't tell us anything about what you need in your business or in your life. It doesn't tell us anything about what is going to make you feel satisfied as you're doing that. It doesn't tell us what questions you're asking as you're doing that. That's where other elements of astrology come in. So for me, the way that I use this in business is, yes, I look at sun signs, but then I'm also looking at what is somebody's moon sign? What is somebody's rising sign? Where was the Eastern horizon when they were born? And the reason for that is because it really starts to get at those other parts of who we are, of what we need to feel safe and satisfied, what we need to feel successful. And when we think about that in the context of being an entrepreneur, we go out doing these things, but what's going to make me feel satisfied is totally different from what's going to make you feel satisfied as an entrepreneur. And then in business, and this is a big part of why I've stayed working in the corporate world while also being an entrepreneur, is our employees need that. We were talking before this started about how you would ask for time off hardly ever and then get berated for that. And there's just that sense of like not giving employees what they need. And in HR, we have to balance being able to do that with meeting the business needs.
Yeah, for sure.
But we can't do that if we don't know what our employees need. So that's where I see astrology coming in.
Okay, that's interesting because that's what I was going to ask. Like, is that how you use that to figure that out? Because in my mind, my thinking, right, like when we talk about the needs of our team, I specialize in working with teams. My clients, we have like teams of 6 to 10 people, and I help them with their professional development and to help them be successful in the role that they're in. But this is really interesting to me. So I'm like really excited about it just to learn about it, because when we get like Chinese food, right, we get a fortune cooking, we read the fortune, like the ones I've gotten lately are not so great, but like, I don't know. It's very fascinating because for me personally, I would love to know more about my sign and like how that would show up in my personal life. But it does. Your personal and your professional, everything is all connected. So the way that you are personally is going to show up in your work as well.
Do you happen to know what time you were born? Like, do you have that in your head, or is that something you'd have to go look up?
3:31 p.m.
Do you want to look up your signs right now? Do you want me to do that? And we could talk about it. If not, totally fine.
I'm so curious.
Let's do this.
Yeah, like I said, there are times where I would read the horoscope. Like I read one a couple of weeks ago, something about like money's going to come in. I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, because I know that when we talk about self-help, right? Like our personal and professional development, there are people out there that read like self-help books or talk to a life coach and this and that. But having this in the corporate, because when you think of corporate, you think of really strict, this is how it is, all that stuff. But once we get to know people on a different level, then we get to figure out, like you were saying, like you can meet their needs. Like, okay, well, this is your personality. This is how you are. This is probably who you should team up with. This is probably who you should collaborate with. Is that kind of like how you help the people that you work with as well?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. And when we look at, especially that moon sign, what we need, so often we are not taught how to recognize our own needs. We're only taught how to meet other people's needs. So a lot of times when I'm working with people who have never seen their birth chart, have not done this work before, their moon sign is the one that is initially the hardest to kind of wrap their head around. But once they do, it's the most impactful because it helps us understand self-care. It helps us understand why we don't feel satisfied. It helps us understand what we need to feel safe or secure. So when you're talking about a team and you have 10 people, you're going to have 10 different sets of needs. And if you know what that need is for each person, it's like the vulnerability level can go higher, the trust factor goes higher, assuming that the team is willing to put in the work to meet those needs, right?
Yeah.
That trust level goes higher, and then the creativity goes higher, the loyalty goes higher, the retention goes higher. Like all of that increases because now not only is this person getting their needs met for the first time often, they're also learning how to do that for their coworkers and their peers. And it's taking away this huge pressure of, why isn't that person like me? Why don't they do it this way? I don't understand why they're acting the way that they are, because you start to see, oh, they are acting from their core needs. Or when we look at the rising sign, from their core set of questions and their core values and their key motivators. Like those two things are so powerful when we combine them in terms of team building and team knowledge.
That's awesome. I remember when I worked in the office setting and I would get up and walk around the office. We had a huge open space. Nobody had their own office. It was just like this huge room, basically. And I can't sit here from 9 to 5. Like I have to do something to get out for a few minutes, come back. And people were, how are you getting your work done? Because everybody works differently. Their minds work differently. Some people can sit at their desk for 8 hours a day and be okay with that. I am glad I am not in that spot anymore. Like being able to do my own work and have the freedom and be able to like step outside for a minute without, why aren't you at your desk? Like, I don't need to be at my desk.
Well, and think about your sun sign being in Capricorn. Think about that mountain again of you're somebody who needs to move, and you're somebody who shines when you're able to get up and move. because you're not someone who's meant to be sitting around. You're someone who's meant to be climbing mountains, whether that's physical or not, literal or not. You're meant to be moving. You're not going to shine as your true self if you're sitting around all day. Because my moon is in Capricorn, like that is an internal need that I have. I mean, I lived in Kentucky for 5 years and there's no real mountains in Louisville where I lived. There are on the eastern side of the state, but not where I was. And I can remember longing to see the mountains. I grew up in Northern California where everywhere you look, there's mountains. So when I'd come home to California, it was like, oh, I can see the mountains. And I always thought that was just like such a weird thing. But when I realized that my moon is in Capricorn, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense why I need to see the mountains, because I literally need to be climbing mountains as just like part of my self-care. So hiking for me is self-care because of that like internal need.
Mind blown.
Yeah.
Hey there, listeners. Ever feel like you're struggling to connect with customers or lead your team effectively? That's where soft skills come in.
Entrepreneur Encounter isn't just another podcast. We're a community dedicated to helping early stage entrepreneurs like you master the soft skills that make or break a business.
Technical skills are important, but without communication, collaboration, and confidence, your business might never get off the ground to the next level.
In our membership, Dana and I share actionable insights and tips to help you nurture the soft skills you need to thrive.
Give you access to bonus content, workshops, and a network of like-minded entrepreneurs who are all on the same journey.
We'll teach you how to boost your confidence,
Become a leader who inspires and motivates your team,
navigate conflict like a pro,
to resolve disagreements without drama and build stronger relationships,
communicate clearly and concisely, get your message across, build trust, and close the deal.
If you're ready to take your business to the next level, join the circle by clicking the link in the show notes.
In your HR setting, like working with your teams, do you perform the interviews when somebody applies for a job, or do you help conduct the interviews, and do you use that process when you are doing the astrology?
I don't use this in interviews just because it can kind of cross the lines of into some of the protected categories about age and nationality, things like that. So just for compliance reasons, I don't. But I have used this with our employees who are struggling with something and they've come to me and they want coaching. I'll typically use this with their permission. It's totally voluntary. It's not something that we require of them. So that's how, like, as an HR director, I'm able to use this because I do have to be really careful compliance wise. But then coming in as a consultant into other companies, that's where I'm able to really go into, all right, we're going to do this as a team, because I, as the external consultant, hold the data of their place of birth, their time of birth, their date of birth, things like that. So it's not the company holding on to that and using that for development. It's me as the consultant. So there's a little bit of compliance nuance that I have to be careful of there.
Okay. I'm so fascinated. I know I keep saying that, but it's just like, it's fascinating because there are times, I know coming from experience and many conversations that I've had, we don't really dig that deep into ourselves. Like, obviously there's times where I question, like, why am I doing this? But it's nothing to that extent where I'm like, well, I'm doing this because I have to. I'm doing this because I want to make money. I'm doing this because I'm having a good time. But I'm not, and other people too, not really digging into the astrology part of it. I have not heard of this. And I think this is something that probably needs to be talked about more because, again, when you think about corporate, you think about this is your work, this is what you're doing. And I'm on a mission. My mission is to humanize the workplace because that's what I do for my clients. I want to make sure that everybody is set up for success and they have the greatest team that they can have. And I think of it like a family unit, not so much a family, but like I want everybody to feel seen and feel heard and make sure that they have what they need to be able to be successful in their role. But this is just a different level. And I love everything about it.
Oh, yay. I'm so glad. That's how I feel about it. When I first started digging into this for myself, my mind was blown as I would read about my sun, moon, and rising signs and what that meant and how you find them. And for a while, I actually tried to keep the two separate. When I first found out about this, I was working with a wealth management firm. And that was like in my mind, as corporate as it gets, right? It was backed by private equity. We had to be towing a very specific line. So bringing in this kind of woo-woo astrology thing was not something that I thought I could do. And I ended up not working there for a whole host of other reasons. But last year, I was working with a mentor and a speaking coach. And I said, I don't know what to do because I have this huge passion for astrology, but I also love the professional corporate world. And she was like, that's what you need to do. You have to bridge the gap. And I was like, yeah, but nobody wants astrology in business. And she said, that's BS. She said, I bet if you started talking about this, people would jump on it. And I was so scared because I had for so long told myself the story that astrology doesn't belong in business. And I love that she challenged that, because the more that I started talking about it, the more that, just like you, people were like, oh my gosh, this is a game changer. It's different. I haven't heard about it before. So now I feel a lot more comfortable talking about that, but it was hard to begin with because I was like, at least I didn't think I did. Now I know I did. But initially I was like, I didn't come here to be like a trailblazer. And as I've learned more about my astrology and about my human design, then I realized, oh, crap, I did. That's literally my human design is, yeah, we can get into that later. But this is what I was meant to be doing.
I love that. I think when entrepreneurs start out, any industry, any service that they're offering, everybody questions, am I really good at this? Is this a thing that I want to do? If you're passionate about it, if you're determined, then do your research and talk to people that have been there, all those things. Because when I started my business, I was like, there's no way I'm not going to make any money doing this. But you have to be determined and just keep doing it and see what happens. Then if it doesn't work, try something else, I guess.
Yeah. It's so scary starting out as an entrepreneur because you have this thing that feels so natural to you, but then trying to talk about that with somebody else when it's so connected to who you are, or it feels so connected, is terrifying. I started Most True You in 2020. We're going on 4 years now. And I feel like it's only been this year that I've been able to claim and fully embrace what I'm doing. It took me 3 years of, maybe. I don't know, because it's so scary. I just say that because I hope there's someone else listening that is like, oh, I've been doing this for a year and I've done nothing, or 2 years, or it's just a really expensive hobby. Like, you're not alone in that.
Yeah, no, it takes time. Like the first 3 to 5 years are tough. It's not easy being an entrepreneur. And I think there's a lot of people out there that show that it's so easy. And then people fall into this trap. And then they're like, well, I'm not going anywhere.
I don't make $100,000 in a month. What's wrong with me?
Yeah, I don't know anybody personally that's been an entrepreneur. When I started, I just started because I had the opportunity to just do it. Like, I wasn't working. I lost my job due to COVID. Told my husband, I was like, I'm going to do this. We have kids. It made more sense for me to stay home. So I was like, I'll give it a go. If it doesn't work, then I'll go find a real job.
Yeah. And now you have a real job.
But no, it takes time and building that confidence and, and building those skills, both your personal and your professional skills, your develop, like all the things, like it takes time.
It does.
I thought about going back to school for business. I was like, nope, I'm not going back to school because the last 3 years have been my school. Like, I'm getting paid for it. That's how I think about it. When you're starting your business, that can be your internship. You're getting paid to learn. Like, that's how I think about it.
That's such a good way to look at it. I like that.
So if somebody wants to learn how to read about their astrology or anything like that to help them with their business, if they want to do it on their own, can people do it on their own?
Yes.
I know obviously you can research what's my sign and all the things, but
yeah, I've actually put together a guide that I literally just released yesterday at a summit that I was speaking at.
Oh, nice.
And it's going to be on my website within the next week. So I'll send you a link for it. But it's called Cosmic Confidence. And it's because exactly what you were talking about. It takes a long time to build up that confidence as an entrepreneur. And I think that's the same for people in business. Someone who's a first-time manager, someone who's just been promoted to a director, somebody who is just trying to figure out how do I show up as my true self in this setting with the confidence in my true self versus trying to do it the way that other people have done it? So I created this guide. It's called Cosmic Confidence. It literally tells you what website to go to find your birth chart, which is a map of the planets at the moment that you were born. That's why, like, if I'm reading someone's chart, I always ask for your day, time, and location of birth so that we can see what that map looks like. So the guide shows how to pull that chart, what to look for to find your sun, moon, and rising sign, what that means when we talk about your sun, moon, and rising sign. And then there's a description for each and every one of them. So it's a guide to figure out all of these. And then there's like information on what to do next with it. So I can give you a link for that. That's like specific to you, that if you want to post in the notes, you can do that. And so that way people can get that. It's free.
Yeah, for sure.
I spent the last 6 months working on it. So it's not something that I threw together in a weekend, which nothing wrong with that. Like, to me, this is the distillation of everything that I've learned over the past years working with my own astrology, and then what I've learned now working with my friends and my clients and my employees in astrology, just distilled in a like super, super, super easy to understand way.
That's awesome. I can't wait to do it.
Yeah, I'm going to send it to you.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Do you happen to have any tips for new entrepreneurs? Any tips from success to astrology to entrepreneurship, all the things?
For me, it comes down to trusting yourself, because there's so many people out there who want to tell you how to do it, but none of them are an expert in you. I mean, that's so big, right? It's like, how do you trust yourself? And for me, it's know yourself so that you can trust yourself. And that takes time. But whether it's through astrology or through the disc or through the Enneagram, you know, whatever it is that resonates, find a way to really get to know who you are and then make decisions in alignment with you versus what you see other people doing. That's something that has taken me years to strengthen that muscle, but it has been the best gift that I have been able to give myself, is that trust, the knowing and the trust.
That's a great one. I recently have had the attitude of, I don't care what other people think. I'm to the point where I'm doing things the way I want to do them. And for the first year or two of my business, there's so much noise out there. Like, you have to do it this way. You have to do it this way.
Yeah.
Like, I was listening, then I got really overwhelmed. I wanted to throw in the towel, and something came about me and I said, nope, I don't care what you think. I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to be successful. I know I will.
Yay.
But I think that's a great attitude to have. You have to trust yourself. What is it that you want to do to be successful and not listen to all the noise? So obviously, when we start this podcast, we want to be that resource to help other people. Like, you don't have to take everything for word, but I think you have to do things the way that you want to do. I guess be a rebel and just keep doing what you're doing. Have fun with it. And that's how you're going to build the confidence, I think.
Yeah. Have fun.
You got to have fun with it, because I know for a long time I got bored, but I was like, nope, I'm just going to keep doing it.
Yeah. So much of that is just pushing through, not in a forcing. That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, just trusting yourself is huge.
Yeah. For those listening, where can we connect with you? Like, website, any social media?
Yeah. Instagram is my favorite for social. I'm at Most True You. And then my website is the same, mosttrueyou.com.
Awesome. Well, all the information is going to be in our show notes. Until next time, bye.